Hey everyone, it's Galena. We are nearing the end of March. Spring is officially here, and I'm going to show you what's going on at the farm right now and in the next few weeks. So dahlia cuttings are in full force. There's not that many out in the greenhouse right now, but the fact that they're even in the greenhouse means that they're getting propagated like crazy, because it means my grow room is filling up, which is way out at the barn. And that's where I have all my grow lights set up and where I take all my cuttings and where I like start my dahlia seeds. And then once they get to a certain point, they get moved to my greenhouse, which if you notice is right off my house. And that's on purpose, because that way I can keep track of everything easily. So I'm not just doing flowers this year, I'm also doing a lot of food, mostly berries, which I've actually always been big on. We did a lot at our other house, and now that we moved, we kind of have to start over. You can see my seasonal pond back there. So I'm going to show you some of the stuff that we're doing. So behind me, this is approximately like 100-foot row, and it had a bunch of blueberry plants that unfortunately had died, plus landscape fabric, plus sod that had grown on top of that. So we got most of it removed. As you can see, there's still grass that's coming up. We'll remove that, and we're planting a 100-foot row of ever-bearing raspberries there, which we love eating fresh, but I also use the foliage for bouquets. And then right next to it, we still have to weed everything, but last year we transplanted in 10 mature blueberry bushes, which desperately need to get pruned, but I'm just behind on stuff. So if I prune these will produce about 200-ish pounds of blueberries. And then, as you can tell, there's space at the end, and I'll just add in, we'll just finish this up with blueberries. So we'll have raspberries, we'll have blueberries, and then I'm doing strawberries in a different spot. So back over where the greenhouse is by the house, the previous owners had put in this vegetable garden, which with these like big metal underground drainage pipes. I'll show you. But this is where we're going to do the strawberries, primarily because I have 4 kids. I have no illusions that any strawberries are going to like end up in my freezer. It's not going to happen. These are the beds. They've been working on getting them weeded out. There's 8. The cool thing about these is because the edge is really sharp, it actually keeps the slugs from getting in and demolishing anything. So I'm getting 500 strawberries next week, and we need to finish weeding these out, and then I'm going to order in some good garden soil to amend these, because this soil has not been amended for a super long time. And then in these 2 beds over here, they had planted daffodils. So I'm gonna make sure that those get dug up and transplanted somewhere. Like, they're super pretty. I did not wanna throw those babies out. And then this is in the corner is our temporary pond that my husband set up. I believe we still have fish in here, but they kind of hibernate in the winter. And then he has this bog filter at the top. So this stays completely clear like this without chemicals. And someday I'll get him to do a video on it, because we do, like, ponds are his thing, and we're planning a few like actual in-ground ponds around our area. There's a moving truck on the side, so ignore that. Anyway, so that's the plan. 500 strawberry starts. I don't know how much that's gonna fill, but whatever's left over, the kids are just gonna do some fun things. Like, my son really loves growing green beans, so we'll If there's not room in here for that, we'll do it out in the field where I'm doing other vegetables. But it's gonna mostly be strawberries, and they're mostly just for fresh eating because I know how much fruit my kids can go through, and I guarantee it will just, like, I'll be lucky if I get a strawberry. Let's just put it that way. And then along the greenhouse, we have all these shrubs and bare root trees that I just got. These red ones are a cardinal dogwood that's native here. And then I also have a bunch of spirea, which is also native here. And then I have lilacs in here as well. So I got a big order of bare root trees a few weeks ago, and some of them went in a hedgerow at the back of my property, which I'll go show you. And then the rest are going in a hedgerow on the front of our property, and I'm gonna walk you through what I'm planning for that. I'm very excited about actually having the space to plant trees and bushes, because at my last property, we just really didn't have it. Like, there were some existing trees that were already there, and there was just actually just not room to plant more than was already there. Do a quick peek in the big greenhouse. All the pansies, which are so beautiful. They're starting to get longer stems. See, like you can see this one, how they start sending up longer stems that are very straight, and then these will get even longer, and then they just keep going. Pansies are honestly just so humble and yet so beautiful. They just do their thing and just are gorgeous. So that's the one we were just in, and then this one is a 50-foot tunnel, and it just needs the plastic put on and secured, and we're gonna get that done this week. And honestly, that's where all, like, I'm doing so many cuttings and dahlia seedlings. They're gonna go in that, and it will eventually be planted, but for right now it's just gonna be a holding ground until I can plant outside, because I'm starting way too much. So if you saw my other video, this is the wildflower field, and all the lupine is doing great. It's just everywhere, and it's gonna really just kick off as we get this warmer weather. And even though we have this massive puddle that shows up every time it rains, it still survives underneath that. Well, so far, because this puddle doesn't really last more than a couple days. Anyway, this is where the other hedgerow goes, and as you can see, it's kind of buried in water right now, but these plants are hardy and should handle the water fine. If they don't, that's a learning experience, but in the past, I know that they've grown in swampy areas and have done fine, so not too worried about it. So as you can tell, we have some drainage issues, and I've talked about before, and we knew that we did. I came up with, I don't know if this solution will work, but I just try things when I think of them, and if they work, great, and if they don't, it's a learning experience, and I adjust. So I'm gonna show you what my idea was that I wanna do. Maybe it will work. So to start out with, this field just has a lot of low spots, and it's not a big deal in the summer, so none of this floods in the summer. It's just in the winter, it does. And because I actually want perennials planted in here, I don't like all of the, I don't know, mini lakes that we get. So this is my thought. We could dig pipes and send it all out to a drainage ditch at the front of our property, but that would be incredibly expensive and a lot of work. So this is what I'm gonna do instead. So this is a flower field, okay? And then there's the barn. You can see all of this water here. We did put in gravel right there, which has been a lifesaver. Otherwise, it would be so muddy that we wouldn't even be able to come this way. So we'll probably do that the rest of the way. The problem is that doing that also creates other low spots, which then flood. And it will go away within like a couple, 2 or 3 days of sunshine. But the problem is we just get a lot of winter rain. Like, there's no way around it. So this area is right next to my flower field, and I intended for this to be a cottage garden. What I want to do now instead is essentially dig a seasonal pond that doesn't have any type of lining, but just think like we dig in and we mound the dirt on this side and this side, and then we can dig some trenches along the field that will drain into it in the winter. So in the winter, it's basically a drainage area, and in the summer, we have this grassy inlet, or this dirt inlet, and I would just fill it with flowers. So if you were sitting in the middle of it, it would feel like you were in your own little world, because the sides would be mounded enough that if you were sitting in it, you couldn't like see over the sides, if that makes sense. So I have seen this done before, not very often. I was trying to find pictures of something like that on Pinterest, could not, but I have seen it done. Let me know what you think. Basically, we would make it so that this water, like that would be the low spot. It would all drain into there. We would make this part higher so it would naturally go that way. Down there, it would be pretty easy because we're putting in a water line along our field to dig some trenches along with that so it drains in. But then in the summertime, I think it would be really cool. Like plant like super easy annuals, like even like just low growing flowers or even zinnias. I don't know. I'm all about creating like these separate rooms on your property that feel like a retreat within themselves. Stay tuned. I mean, if it doesn't work, we'll just even it all out again the next year and, you know, do a different plan. But yeah. All right, quick detour to show you my cutting room. So, cooler. We're getting ready for shipping, so this whole area will get cleaned out and we will set up a massive shipping station, and I'll show you all. But we have, so like tons of cuttings rooting over here. Then we have seeds and more cuttings over here. And yeah, it's just a lot. And I honestly have more to start. I'm just trying to stay caught up. And I'm only growing for myself. I know people ask me if I ship them or sell them, and it's like, no. I mean, I have sold them before, but I needed a break this year from something, and I just wanted to do cuttings for me. So that's where they all start, and then they spill over into our greenhouse, and then in the hoop house in the back. And by mid-April, I'm gonna have plants coming out of my ears, for real. Okay, so we walk from the barn, and then here's the vegetable garden, as you can see. And these are like, this is the only place where we have trees on our property, was basically at the front of our property. So that's the vegetable garden. It's right next to the house. That little house next to the house, that little building used to be a well house. We do not have working wells right now. So over here in front of the house is the first cottage garden that I put in, and this one is almost filled in. So I have daffodils going around the whole perimeter. I have a bunch of alliums, muscari, irises, rudbeckia. Oh, this is veronica that's coming up. So veronica in my climate is a perennial, and it just completely dies down in winter and then it comes back up. So I have a ton of it, and then it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And then in the back, well, we have a lot of roses scattered through here, and most of them I got from Heirloom. So there's one, and they're all leafing out and looking good. I have feverfew, but then in the back along the house, I have lilacs, more roses. These ones are from David Austin, and then I'm planting ranunculus, my last planting of ranunculus, all through this back hedge. So in like a couple months, this is just going to be blooming with ranunculus. And then I have 9-bark, which is a native here as well. You have to excuse that noise. Someone has like a weird makeshift helicopter. Anyway, I have about 1,500 plants just in this area. And I did prioritize a lot of perennials for my zone. And then there's a lot of like rudbeckia in here, which is also drought tolerant. So the idea is that I'm not gonna have to water this a bunch, but I'll definitely share pictures as it blooms. But new project, because I always have another one, or I don't know, 15 going through my brain. This is why I needed more land. All right, so this fence lines our road, and it goes all the way over there. So here it is, like that's our property. It goes all the way to that corner, and then it's just like, it's really, really big. So I don't think that I have the bandwidth to take on this space this summer, or this spring actually. But what we are going to do is we're going to start with the hedge along the fence. My plan is we're going to get this sod removed, all of it, and then also along that fence there, and then way over there. And then where the grass is, I will be planting a cover crop for this summer so that I can actually make that soil better without bringing in a ton of new soil. So the cover crop will grow all summer, we'll terminate it, and then we will start designing and planting this place in the fall with shrubs and bare roots that do well when you plant them in the fall and established. And then we'll finish the space next year. We are talking about putting a pond, like a wildlife pond, in the middle of it. That's kind of my husband's thing though, so yet to be determined if it will happen there, but it's big enough that I think we could. Along this whole fence line, we are going to do polka roses. I'm doing limelight hydrangeas. I'm doing those red cardinal dogwoods I talked about. And then I'll be doing native spirea on this side. This is the house side, so we would see that. And then verbena through, like, just randomly for like purple color. I got the polka roses from Heirloom. I grew them at my last house. Love them. Very disease resistant. They have these beautiful peach apricot flowers, and they're a climbing rose. They can grow like 8 to 10 feet. So they would fill in that fence really, really well. They do have horrible thorns, but it's a hedge, so I don't care. But polka just keeps blooming, and that's really important to me when I pick out roses, is I don't really go for the ones that just bloom once. I really like ones that just bloom through the season and smell really good. So this whole hedge will be the dogwood, polka, hydrangeas. So it's basically going to be white, peach. The dogwood will give us winter color because it has these red, gorgeous stems. And then we'll do the verbena for some violet purple color. Anyway, I think it will look great. And then at the same time, we're gonna remove the sod right here, which is, so there's that one. So this is the corresponding future garden. and we'll just remove it up to that border line. And then I will be planting this cottage garden this spring, early summer, to correspond with that one. So this is looking from the house. So kind of our goal here, it will be a little bit, but if you were looking straight from our front door, I have a big wooden arch that I want to put here that just like lines up straight with my front door, and then a pond in the middle, and then just like these gorgeous cottage gardens, and then that hedge in the back along the fence. And then over here we have some fruit trees which actually produce really good apples. And my goal is we probably will keep some of the lawn here, but I'd like to do some more fruit trees in this area, like make an orchard. And then along this strip, probably like a 4-foot border of natives and very drought tolerant plants that go all the way to the road, so that we have, you know, we have a garden, flowers, orchard. So in addition to the flower field, those are the plans I have going on right now, like this year through next year. I have more too that I didn't talk about, that I will talk about, but I'm excited for those and excited to get them started. Basically, all the stuff that I just talked about has been in my brain for years, and I just finally have the property to do it, which I'm very grateful for. So that's a little update on what I'll be working on in the next couple months, plus shipping out over 3,000 packages of tubers, but it will all be great. So if you have any questions or are interested in parts of that or want to see more of certain aspects, let me know. And oh, one thing I didn't mention that I just saw out of the corner of my eye is that I have over 40 potted roses that I brought from my old house that need to go in the ground, in addition to the ones I just got from Heirlooms. So stay tuned for those. Probably a lot of them are going to go in the cottage garden space, to be honest. So they might stay in pots for another year, but they're big pots, so they should be fine. I'll be doing some design videos too as I actually get stuff planted once we get that sod removed. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching.